Welcome to Dhamma Trips, and this is a podcast series I'll be doing. Just to get a little bit more into that, the reason I started this is basically to get into a conversation with things about the spiritual. By the spiritual, I don't mean it like in a magical hocus pocus kind of sense. I mean in like a sense beyond our physical dimension, because we are so used to things in society with regards to our physical dimension. By that I mean movies, music, gossip, like celebrity gossip, I don't know, cars, phones, there's all kinds of topics which are talked about. It's something people don't get into as much, and more people have been getting into, I guess, in the recent few years, is exploring the dimension of their minds.
Yeah.
And exploring, and it's vast, it's massive once you start moving into it.
I guess you mean not getting too caught up in the outside versus
looking on the inside.
Maybe this could be like a reality check for both of you and us. I feel like let's take a moment and let's look inside.
Yeah.
We review what's going on inside.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, I know everyone hasn't asked those questions or delved into that side of them. But I know a certain amount, like a few people who has done that. And also, I'm sure there are so many people out there who I haven't heard of who is doing it at the same time. And and everyone's approach is different to how they explore themselves. And the objective of this series is basically to talk to different people who have experience on that matter, who follow a kind of practice, a kind of philosophy, teaching, whatever, and talk more on that and discuss more on that. And I think I follow a particular practice which is very Buddhism oriented. But I know a lot of people who are still spiritual but are not Buddhist, and I think that's completely fine. I think the entire objective of this is to just acknowledge that there is a new dimension to be observed, and it's really worthwhile getting into it, because you don't know what you'll find. Yeah. Because you've been living with that your entire life, and some people they go to work, do a 9-to-5 job, get married, get kids, and eventually die, never having gone into that dimension. And I feel like it's a waste.
It's such a waste. It's such a beautiful place to explore.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to explain it, but it's not happiness that you get, but it's some real satisfaction there.
And some depth, I guess.
Some depth, to who you are and who you think you are.
Yeah.
So
that's a small intro. So I'm here with Mitara Koliyabandara.
I'm here with Mitara.
Yes.
And we are gonna talk to you for 1.5 hours.
Around that,
Ish. Yeah. We have our drinks, we have tea, we have water, we have our cat, and a few points that we want to talk about with you. So get comfortable, grab whatever you want, grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's just talk, shall we? Yeah.
Keep it chill.
Yeah. You can play this in the background, whatever you want, really. But also, this is Tsukiko. Oh, we just rescued her. She's a stray cat. So yeah, she'll be joining us. So she's a special guest.
The third guest,
Yes.
Yeah, and the topic we wanted to touch on today was love and spirituality, and different dimensions of love. And
What made you think of that topic? What made you get into that? Well, why were you like, I want to do it on this?
I think love is what drives a lot of people. In the sense, I know you have your career and you have what you want to be, but a lot of people also want to find that certain someone, and most of them, I feel like a lot of people, and I couldn't personally relate to this as much, but I know that's a driving factor to a lot of my friends.
I think for you, we've talked about this, and you say you don't relate to it as much, but it still drove you to
it. For sure.
There is a lot of, we don't know who we are, personally now you recognize that's not something I want in life, which I think a lot of people can still say about themselves, but they don't know that that's not what they want in life. And it's such a, it seems like a priority, we have to, or I guess we'll feel incomplete.
And also like society has made it like a product, you know, like find that person and get married to that person and then
Especially in any culture, obviously, but especially in our own culture. It's such a joke almost. Like, oh yeah, you're gonna be 22, maybe you'll get married. I don't know. Like, it's such a thing that like you have an age, you don't really think about it. Like, oh right, there's a person I'm supposed to find. You just do it because you're like, I have to hit all these goals as well.
But when I reach this age, I should be married and it should be
and
that.
And then let's say, personally for me, the reason that drove me towards relationships in general when I was younger was because I was told not to.
Okay.
That was how it was given priority for me. It's something you should not do. So therefore I was like, oh, this is important. Like, I was just like, I found it very...
Why do you think that is? Like, even in like the school, even like Lyceum, they were really strict on like not having relationships. Why do you think?
Fear, I think.
Because
now I've grown up and but I can look at my younger cousins or my friends who have sisters and siblings who are younger, and then I can actually see like I get almost petrified with fear. I don't like obviously love them as much as their own siblings do or their parents do, but I do sometimes get petrified with fear when like my young cousin would be like, I'm talking to this person, he's 6 years older than me. She doesn't understand the depth in how different their mindsets are, because she used to surround people her age, and this guy he just graduated from school, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm just like, no, but he should understand. And I get very petrified with fear, and then you put all these kids like her who are confused, who don't understand the difference between someone who's 14 and someone who's 19 or 20. The difference in that maturity is vast. And then you get Lyceum has so many kids, and you're like, okay, the only way to do it is we just put them in this bracket of what you should do and what you shouldn't do. Because I also think they didn't have that much guidance. Maybe
but I
think
it's
talk to them instead of like no, yes, no, yes.
But I think that so many kids they didn't really have trained, experienced people enough to do that kind of project.
It is a big project. Not just we know, you don't know. It's sort of dynamic that exists very prominently in older generations and younger generations.
Like no one really knows how to handle it.
No, oh my god, you grow up and you realize parents are just big kids who acted like they figured it out because they suddenly had a kid. You might as well act like you know what you're doing. No one who's gonna help you like that. Your grandparents maybe, but no one's gonna do it for you. You have to do it, and you might as well act like you know what you're doing.
And that's not always a good thing, but also at sometimes you know values and you know these are like good values. I feel like not try to force them down, but then up to a certain extent it's okay, because coming back to the school thing, it's kids are more vulnerable, to other people, to emotion, because they're not in a stage of maturity. So I feel like the chances of them, again, it varies from individual, but in general I feel like the chances of them going to be hurt are a lot more.
Going to be traumatized.
Because that sticks when you're a kid, I guess, no?
The formative years.
I
don't know why I this is the formative years.
So I think that's coming from like a good place. I mean, initially it's coming from like a good place, saying, I remember like even our principals and all will come and tell me like, there's going to be a time for this and it's not right now. Because I think up to a certain extent they recognize that this is a very powerful emotion.
Right. Yes.
And if you mess up now, like you can get properly messed up. And I think up to a huge extent that's true.
That
is true.
Because you don't necessarily recognize this at a young age, but people are malicious and people do have very evil intent.
Yes, some of them do,
Some, like older people who are formed people, they do have evil intent towards children, towards anyone really, and like
to them it's just another object of not even pleasure, but object the other person can be just like a means for them to get what they want, and they don't really necessarily delve into what will happen to the psyche of that person who is going through it.
Oh, because it's denial, no? Like,
yeah, and also they don't really think about it.
No,
they're just fixed on their own world and their own pleasure, I guess. I don't think they're necessarily evil in the sense like they want to put that other person down.
No.
Yeah.
But they, I guess, evil in the sense of a normal person with a rational sense would question themselves.
Yeah.
Would feel that.
They're not empathetic. You know?
Yeah. Empathetic. Yeah. I think so too. But yeah, I think that's also what. And as a child, you don't know why all these things exist, all these rules, all these. Don't do this, don't do that. You just see the prominence of where like a relationship is at such a high pedestal, and you're like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to conquer that almost.
Yeah.
I want to. I had this personally. I want to make my parents or whoever feel like it's okay, I got it, and then I want to get that, and I want to do it right. I had that where I was like. Don't worry about me. Like I'm gonna do this right. And you don't know what you're chasing. You don't know what you're doing. You're just doing it out of maybe that playful nature of yours that every child has. And then
out of curiosity, even
yeah.
out of curiosity.
And you do it so much that you're indoctrinated with it, and you're just like, I don't remember where it started, but now I'm just searching for love, and I'm like desperately looking for something that I thought would fill that little curiosity I had as a kid. Maybe curiosity, but. Something really I had as a kid, and then it turns into a lifelong search of something that you just almost like look for to be heard.
Well, get more into it because I think I kind of lost you.
Oh my god, my leg is
numb.
numb. She's been like sleeping here for a while. Do you wanna? Okay, alright. I'm so sorry. Oh, it hurts, bro. Alright. Little cat. What was I saying?
We were getting into that it becomes like a lifelong search for something.
That you get hurt. Is that where you got lost?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's a lot. It's not black and white, but eventually, I don't know. It's this.
I think relationships and like being with a person is one of those deep senses of contentment and happiness you can get compared to other things, like like you eat a good pizza, or you see a nice waterfall and you feel happy, but then like relationships and what like another person can give you is almost at the peak of something you can experience in like a human level.
Yeah. It's so abstract as well. Like what do you feel of that? When you're a kid and you get a text from someone you like, the feeling of liking someone and not knowing how to ask them out, that, like how you said, you feel more human. Yeah. When you feel those things.
You feel more alive. Yeah.
That's why I like having crushes rather than relationships. Okay, that was a personal thing. I knew I was going to get rejected, even if I knew. I liked having that crush and not telling that person, so I could elongate how I felt and like, should I text him? Should I not text him? Okay, should I just like, okay, I'm gonna ignore them, and that would last for days, and then that feeling of that excitement that wasn't love, but that was close, and I craved that because I felt like I mattered. Is it mattered?
Yeah.
Like I felt myself.
You felt yourself, yeah. Like when you're really calm. And I guess nothing's really happening and you get bored. I think the reason that happens is because you don't feel yourself as much. You're not feeling anything intense, and so now you feel empty. Now you want to feel yourself more.
Right.
Yeah. So I think another person can give you the means to feel yourself the most. And in one way, if you find exactly what you're looking for, like we all have these check boxes in our head of what we're looking for. And when a person comes really close, you get excited because now that person is giving the means to feel this concept of what you had in your head.
This concept, yeah, that's so true. And I don't think we ever really, when we feel that calm, the only thing we're taught to look at is what's around us, what's reality, really. And then we look for it in reality. But we have, like you said, a concept. We have all these abstract things in our head that aren't just abstract things when you look at it. Actually, when you go deeper and deeper, they're not abstract. Every single thought you had rooted from something else and rooted from something else, and you can't almost find the root either, but you can see the pattern. You can see a pattern there. So we're just taught to look at everything else and we're like, oh, a person that fits my abstract concept. I'm gonna go with that. But that person's not an abstract concept either. That person's so complex. As much as
the other person.
The other person, and therefore you will get disappointed.
Exactly.
Right?
You get disappointed when that person doesn't fit this concept you have in your head.
Yeah. After a while, you realize the concept was just. I guess the concept helps because it's like maybe eventually you learn to recognize if you have a habit of getting into toxic relationships, or you crave things like you don't obviously crave it, but you do almost magically go in search of those things. Eventually a checkbox helps to be like, I don't deserve this, I'm going to look for better. But when you even find the best possible person, they will still disappoint you in the worst way possible. Because the person closest to you, I feel, will hurt you the most.
Yeah, for sure. Because those people give us the most happiness, and then it's almost becomes like, and we love that state of being we are in when they give us happiness. And it's when they stop becoming like being in our image, we get frustrated because now we cannot reach that high state of being that we were able to with this other person.
Yeah, because we think it exists elsewhere.
Yeah.
Rather than actually going a bit inwards and be like, why did that exist in the first place? Or does that still exist? Does that lack still exist? Lack, I guess. But it's such an interesting concept because it's something we as humans get muddled in so easily. And it's just so normal as well. Oh shit, you had a toxic boyfriend. That sucks, dude. I hope you're better. Like obviously so empathetic and whatnot, but it is so normal to look for hurtful love that breaks you or look for.
And it brings me back to the video you sent yesterday, the South Park one. I know, I tried to cut it in.
No thanks, I love life. Huh? But you just got dumped. Well, yeah, and I'm sad. But at the same time, I'm really happy that something can make me feel that sad. It's like, it makes me feel alive, you know? It makes me feel human. The only way I can feel this sad now is if I felt something really good before. So I have to take the bad with the good. So I guess what I'm feeling is like a beautiful sadness. I guess that sounds stupid.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting because what's essentially happening is like he's feeling terrible, but he's really grateful for feeling terrible. No?
Yeah.
He's really grateful for feeling bad, like sad. Yeah.
I had to go through that thought process to get here. So I think that's a good thing. Obviously now looking at it from there, it's like, oh, it doesn't end there though. That gratefulness blooms into so much wisdom eventually. But that gratefulness is a good start to recognizing why you feel those deep emotions, rather than neglecting it, being grateful that this happened and this person allowed me to feel this way, or this person, taught me more about myself than I did. But taught me how to be myself, or taught me how to feel myself rather. And that gratefulness eventually bubbles into a lot of wisdom that you go into because gratefulness itself is such a complex thing.
That's like another topic. No,
a complex thing, But
getting into like what you said about that entire like whether it's happiness or sadness sometimes. You know, it's not always happiness we attach ourselves. We can attach ourselves into the strangest things, like anything intense. I think anything where we can feel. Of course, this is more based on like what I believe in. Anything where we can feel our ego, where we can feel ourselves the most, we are grateful for. No, not grateful for, but we attach ourselves to that. Like we crave that, we want that.
That also goes back to the good and bad kind of thing. We can't have good without the bad. We can't have bad without the good.
Yeah.
You can't have a good trip without coming down off it. You can't be drunk and in a club without being hungover, and you're like, what did I just do last
Yeah,
night?
it's not just a 0 and a plus, and there's always a minus. It always goes to a minus.
Yeah, and we've been taught to neglect the mind.
Yeah, like brush it away.
Yeah, the hunger will be. You wake up. I don't know how extreme this is, but you have this insane night out, let's say, and you wake up next to someone you don't know. You have bottles everywhere. Your room's a mess, and you feel horrible. Your breath stinks. This person doesn't look attractive to you anymore. All these different things, and then you're like, oh my god. But then you've learned to brush it off. Being like, I'm just gonna drink some water. Whatever, this day is gonna go away.
Yeah.
But it is still a day in your life
Yeah.
that exists
Yeah.
just as much as the day that exists where you got pleasure from. And but when we learn to ignore literally 50% of our life.
Yeah, for sure. We learn to tune out of that negative.
Maybe that's why, how my mom was even saying, in Buddhism, it's such a big concept that you learn introspect from the negative. So once it sort of starts tipping the scales, it's always 50%. 50% of your life you're going to be happy and sad. That's just how it works. If you think, no, I'm an unlucky person, all I feel is sad, you just don't recognize the good. It always exists. That's how it works.
And if you really appreciate the sadness you're into, and I don't mean it as a positive thing. I mean, like, if you're addicted almost to that sadness, that still counts as a positive because you want it and you're getting what you want. Yeah.
Oh my god, right.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. I
Yeah.
didn't think of that. That's very
Like,
interesting.
There are some people who are like, engrossed, like, they're deep in their grief, and no matter, like, people maybe who lost someone, and I get that's probably a traumatizing experience, but some people don't move out of it. Like, for years pass and they're still in it because now they've identified with that state. They found peace in that state almost. Yeah. And they don't want to take this part because now it's a part of themselves, and that would mean losing themselves, and that would be
It almost feels
terrifying.
like if I lose that part of myself, I'll forget that other person, or if I lose that part of myself, then I didn't appreciate or love that person.
Yeah.
But it's really about yourself.
Yeah.
It's really about you being comfortable there, and then you not wanting to move on from that equilibrium almost that you found there. But yeah, that's quite interesting because it's a fine line between being addicted to it versus being like, when you are in a bad position, there's nothing wrong, right? Like, let's say I'm having the worst day of my life. Did that pass? Does it catch up?
I hope not.
I don't know what it is. Oh, it's Christmas. That's
Yeah. It's
right.
gonna be a lot of that, I think.
Right. Oh, Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
But what was I saying?
There's going to be a large part of it which passes.
Oh, yo. I don't remember. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. If I remember, I'll say.
Yeah. Where were we? We were in relationships.
Yeah.
And
What about?
yeah.
Okay. How about how? Okay. This we talked about how society perceives them.
Yeah.
As this.
We're keeping the topic so far good, no?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very proud of us. But how about LGBTQ relationships?
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about? How do you perceive those, and how do you think about it in a spiritual sense? Because I was saying before, I don't think we go into depth about it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, again, feel like in brown culture, it feels like a topic of violation to talk about love in general. We say a man and a woman, we say a marriage, we say you've heard it in anywhere. Oh my god, even like how the older generation refers to your boyfriend sometimes as Yalua, or like, are your friends coming over? Like it's not. It feels like a topic of violation, but it's not. And
Yeah, why is that? No, yeah, that's so true. Like, like it's almost like you're doing something wrong. Yeah. And then, but they throw out big parties and celebrations and celebrating like in weddings.
Yeah. It's such a.
Yeah.
Like they love the wedding, they love engagement parties, they love getting someone married even if that person doesn't know the other person, which is fine if that's what you want, but like sometimes it's not. Most of the time it can end in really bad result, but I don't know why it's not something so talked about. The divorce rates are so high. We have extremely high suicide rates as well.
Yeah.
We have the highest in this country, and that's why do we not talk about that? Why do we not recognize that almost? I know this fact, but even I don't recognize it.
In the sense, what
like
exactly?
I know that suicide rates are the highest in the country, but I don't.
Are the highest in the country?
The highest in the world.
Oh yeah, we are the top 10 or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And 1 year we were in the first one, yeah.
I think I remember that year, and we're very high up there. But even I feel like I don't recognize it because it's so well brushed over, so well just goes under the radar, and we just don't talk about it. We're so scared of talking about things that are really, really.
And I think most suicides are linked to relationships, no? At some point, like man, something not going right, something breaking up, and they feel like the entire world is toppling and it's gone, and now there's no use of living.
Another thing that I've noticed is it's brushed off as something not. I don't take this the wrong way, but not worth killing yourself for.
Oh, okay,
It is valid what you're feeling. It's as if a relationship isn't important enough to make you feel this way. It's even like I've heard it when I was a kid. If someone kill themselves or
you are a weak person.
Yeah. But I don't think so. But if it's so prominent through relationships, maybe it's not the person anymore. Maybe it is relationships and love in general hold such a priority in our hearts.
Yeah, no, I think there's a huge amount of energy in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah, and that's something we can't measure, that's something we can't see, but it's very present. It's very present.
How do you say that though? How do you come to that conclusion?
That it's a powerful state.
Yeah.
Well, if you've been in a relationship, you would know,
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no other way to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like say if I was in love and I was in that extreme bliss kind of state of mind, other than if I was not a very vocal person, another person would not recognize, even a person who's close to me would not recognize that.
That's true.
And I mean, there are people who go through that, and especially kids, and they are in like relationships like that, and they hide it so well from their parents that there's a massive shift in their energy which is happening. But in the physical world, it's almost unprovable.
I also think that's why, as a country, I don't think we're very expression.
Yeah, are we taught to suppress? I think we are taught to suppress. We are taught not to speak our mind. We are taught to like just keep it down and in there.
Even now, being in a relationship and being around my parents know, but they're still like, I still act so sus. I still act like, yo, what's up? Grab. Why do I do that?
Yeah.
Why do I? I'm openly at an adult age.
Yeah.
In a mature relationship, and I'm still like, grab the. Yeah, dude, now it's so weird. I'm not awkward, but I've gotten so good at suppressing it. I told myself, no, that's because we have a friendly relationship. But that part of it is also because I've learned to not fully express how I love the other person. Not to fully, like, touch, physical touch is something not in Sri Lanka.
And I think you can't, it has a lot to do with sex, I think, no? Yeah, you can't really brush over that because I think the guilt and shame more than relationships, it is around the sex aspect of it and like sex before marriage and I think that's the entire thing around it.
It's interesting. I don't know very much about this, but I have read a few things on it and I have heard a lot of people talk about it. But this is not how it used to be.
In our country,
in our country, it happened a lot after British colonization and Portuguese. A lot of who we were kind of wiped out to be who you should be.
Okay.
Like
in the sense?
Like even if you look through history books and things like that, love was expressed openly because that's what humans do. We express things openly, like you said.
And we should.
Yeah, but we only express the negative openly. By negative, I mean aggression, anger, guilt, jealousy. Those things are like like it's just so normal. Like I saw in the papers, this person killed his girlfriend because he was angry. And it's like, right, just be careful. But you never hear like the big acts of love, of real love, but that's also because it
Yeah.
seems not as important enough as well.
And that kind of thing I've noticed is difficult to express because again it's something personal. But if you kill someone, like that's physical and it's out there, it's easy to put.
I guess we talked about this as well. How hate is
much more noticeable.
Potent.
Hate is
a
much
little bit of hate is a lot more potent than a lot of love.
Mm.
But a lot of love is so much more powerful, but you just don't see it.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful energy, as you say. But
it's more subtle in the physical, I feel like. It's almost not noticeable to a person outside. Like you could be really understanding to like a person and maybe two people would be really grateful to have each other, but you can't really see that, from like the outside it looks like there's just two people. But now say they start calling each other names, instantly that becomes extremely
you
noticeable.
define them like
you
bad place, bad relationship, they should probably
it's almost like the outside caters to the negative, caters to like negative kind of emotion.
What if that is how it works? The further you go outside, the further the negative becomes, the further you go inside. But
No.
negative.
Yeah.
In a black and white, there's just two colors kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Just two colors, not a good and bad, but black is black and white is white. But in the middle exists the spectrum of color we see, and either way as well, we just don't see it because it's not really a line.
Yeah.
But what if that's how it is?
Yeah.
That's how.
I think up to a certain extent it's true,
What if our mind is the equilibrium?
In the
zero. What if our mind is the boiling point?
I'm not following. If our mind is the boiling point.
Okay. No. Our mind is water freezing. We're the equilibrium.
Okay.
And then we see the negative and we perceive that we feel the positive.
Positiveness.
It's not black and white. It's not black and white as in like.
And it's harder to explain.
That's so hard to explain. Yeah. That's so abstract.
But I think for sure, in like the outside, in the physical, it's much easier to display the black. It's much easier to display the negative. And the white is usually something internal and it's very difficult to see. Yeah. The physical more caters to a negative.
It's like
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, but now,
There's a lot,
that makes
if
a lot
you think
of sense.
about it, a lot of the reality as we know it is not made out of fear as in like, I want to run away. Fear as in, I don't know, but like a lot of things we have now that scientists have built or we have built, a bed, we were afraid to sleep outside because of animals maybe, and then eventually like the floor is cold, now it became the floor is cold, I want to sleep up there. But it does come from a place of not fearfulness is not the word, but of I want to go further into physical reality, and like it's not negative, but it's further into physical
what do you think about I think right now, like in this society, like sex is something which drives like a huge portion of people, and that has almost become the priority to like a lot of people. Like we see casual relationships. I think that was a question which was brought up like on monogamy and like speak on that topic in general.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel about monogamy and
Polygamy? Yeah, is it?
it's not.
I feel like sex is a strange one, because it is a plus. In the sense, up to a certain extent, it is a plus because it is a kind of intense pleasure you feel. But I don't think it's a very wholesome pleasure. By this, I mean, say then, people who engage in like sex all the time should be the most wholesome people out there.
Right.
And that's my thing, like the porn stars should be like some of the happiest people out there. But that's not the case,
But do you not think that's because it rooted from not something evil? I'm not saying something evil, but something, not even desperation. I wouldn't call it desperation. Sometimes it is desperation, but sometimes it could be money. It could be. It's still always a physical job at the end of the day. So that's, I guess, that's where it rooted from. It's a physical job. It's a
Okay. Let's try to get into this because it's so hard to get into.
Okay.
As in, it's difficult to like map ourselves. Okay. So but that's because everyone outside, there was a demand for it. There was a high demand for it. because I watched that
Yeah.
Netflix documentary of like Hot Girls Wanted. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah, I
it.
haven't watched
And they basically say, so there's more porn out there, more people stream porn compared to Netflix, Amazon and HBO and all streaming services combined. And porn profits more than all these streaming services combined.
Right.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, that's like a crazy stat.
Yeah, and therefore it is a root of evil?
No, I would say it's a root of evil.
No, because it roots people into exploiting, trafficking, all these, and sex has become this thing of all these other things can happen because of it. Like look at like pedophilia, necrophilia, like sex trafficking, child trafficking, kidnappings, and like so many other things. The whole black market, they created a, like you said, market. That's what I mean by evil. It has created this evil side where we can perceive.
But it boils down to, I think, what is it? I mean, if you take like the physical bit of it, it's just two people coming together and involving in a certain way and you get pleasure. I mean, that's it. That's like the entire this thing about it, you know? But you know, it's a very important thing, I feel like. Because for example, say you were doing an act of kindness to a person and you also get happy when you do an act of kindness and you give like a gift or something. But when you give a gift, it's acceptable in any sense. I mean, like, you don't give a gift to us, like for example, you can give a gift to your partner, you can give a gift to your father, your mother, you know, your cousin, your friends, but then, you know, sex is not something like that. You know, it's very constricted to like a very specific thing, and I feel like that's because there's a lot more happening there than just the physical.
I think personally, sex is something that I haven't even fully grasped, like fully begun to even understand. That is like a topic I have not begun to understand because it's so weird to me. Like why is this, like you said, so important? I can't feel. I'm not a very affectionate person, so I can't feel that potency, but I know it exists. I can't turn it into something that like
meaningful.
How big is it? How, like, where does it go? And like but it's something we all do. It's something animals do. It exists.
It's something fundamental. Like you can't, and I think that's the crazy part of it. You can't easily choose not to. I mean, it again depends on individual to individual. But some people are like, they are really into it and they don't know even why they're that into it. Like it drives them, and it's proven it drives them. You know, with all the people having so much bond for porn and all that, like but they don't even know why. It's almost like they're addicted to it. But then I came to the conclusion that in order to be addicted to it so much, that would mean up to a certain extent that this is not a wholesome kind of thing. It's not a wholesome state of high.
What would you call a wholesome state of high then?
I would call it something where you can do and it will not hurt anyone, including yourself. It will hurt people around you or yourself.
But it could. It's just we haven't you give me a gift. You gave me this book, let's say. Let's say you gave me this book knowing I was insecure about my weight, and you gave me a book that was about it's not very whole. It could, and then that's what we market off as society. That's our passiveness. That's not sex, but passive aggression by gift giving. And like maybe you should lose some weight, maybe you should gain some weight, maybe you should drop your boyfriend, here's a gift.
Okay.
I think anything could be not a wholesome act of love. But I think because this has so much potency, it can go both ways. That's why I don't think the word wholesome truly fits there. Because wholesome innately means love without evil. But I don't think love is love. Love is a good and a bad again.
Okay.
Like evil exists with love.
Evil exists with love. What do you mean by evil here?
Hate, I guess. Hate, evil, like malicious intents, all those, not negative, but I guess how we perceive it negative and how we perceive positive, like euphoria and love and the divine feeling of that, the positive of that is with the evil discomfort and the hate and maliciousness.
I feel like going back to that.
Yeah.
That euphoria of love and sex, it's two different things. It could be related, but that is like a lower aspect, like a lower kind of high.
I would really disagree.
Oh yeah?
Being someone who is not a physical person,
Yeah.
I haven't experienced this. But I do truly believe that there exists a pure form of sex that I haven't somehow grasped, but I don't know why I think this exists, but
So we stopped in where you disagreed with. What did you disagree with?
with how you were like sex is a
Low frequency
low
kind of.
frequency, yeah.
Let's actually get into that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the reason I disagree with that, personally I'm not an affectionate person, but I think you know this about me. And I'm not a very physical touch person either. And I don't think I have a big desire for sex in general. I think my desires lie elsewhere, but it's just not there. But I don't know why, but I have a very high belief that sex is this high. It's like a drug, and you've heard this, like how it's a drug, and how people call sex a drug or love a drug even. But sex is so intimate that that's the closest you feel with someone, with anyone you'll ever feel. That's the closest of another person's being you can touch, you can physically merge yourself with. But it's so radical that it just breaks apart. But I read this in Brida by Paulo Coelho, and he goes through the path of spirituality through, I think in that book it was like witchcraft and old European tradition. So it had a lot to do about twin flames, soulmates, twin flames. And she eventually, in the book, she eventually found her twin flame. They didn't end up together. Oh my god, spoilers. Wow, spoilers, add the spoilers. But before, please. And
Can you explain what a twin flame is?
A twin flame.
And how is it different from like a soulmate?
You and I can be soulmates.
Okay.
My mom and I can be soulmates.
Okay.
But a twin flame comes from this idea, or myth rather, that it's like one cell broken into two, and it's so kind of unstable on its own. But I actually think it's the other way around. The one that was together is a lot more unstable because there's so much energy there, and it broke into two. So we spend our entire lives.
So like the soul was one, and then it separated into two,
right.
and then they spend their entire lives or whatever trying to find each other.
And the idea of a twin flame is so much more stronger because you can manifest it into a toxic relationship because it's so strong how you feel about that person, and they will drag out they will eventually, the idea is they will eventually lead you to your own enlightenment. They will help you the most throughout that journey because they will cause the most discomfort in you that you've ever felt. They will push you so uncomfortably there, but it's in love usually. In romantic love it exists. So that wasn't there, but also I've heard that there's a massive age gap between the two things because they never usually meet in the same lifetime.
It's rare.
It's very rare, so there is a big age gap.
And when they do meet, it's like big kind of,
But towards the end of their lives usually, but it's I've heard it's a 10-year age gap or something like that. Obviously not set in stone.
Yeah.
But in this book, she didn't end up with him, but they did. He knew before she did because he was a lot more experienced. He practiced all these spiritual things, and he was an old teacher, and he knew. And she was this young girl, not that young, but she was quite young, like 10 years younger than him-ish. And they at the end of it, in the book they talk about sex and how part of how to learn on that path. So she was an aspiring witch, but to get to that path, she had to have sex in the highest bliss. So it didn't describe it in this passionate way. It just described it in the idea of she saw a divine energy there in that moment, and she recognized it, and she saw it, and she understood it, and then that was it. But I think that's why sex is so misinterpreted, because maybe we all at a fundamental sense know that it has a very high potency,
Mm.
and we go there and it's like the high on LSD or something, and it's a peak, and you're like, I saw God, but you didn't see God. You just saw a very high frequency along with another person. You weren't alone there, and it's so unstable that it doesn't last for long.
Unlike a drug, this experience, you know, you are causing the other person to have, and the other person is causing you to have.
Yeah.
It's shared, like you said, it's one of the rare shared experiences. It's actually, like when you put it that way, if the body itself is a manifestation of our mind, this is a much more solid way to come in contact with another person.
I think so, and I think that's why sex is considered sacred. Save it till marriage, save it for one person, save it for who we decide your horoscope person's gonna be.
Okay.
That's why I think throughout culture, a lot of it is lost in translation.
Okay. Well, why is it considered sacred again? According to
according to religion, it is.
But why?
And
what was the origin of it?
I
Which is
think-
mistranslated now.
What if we knew? What if a long time ago in civilization we knew? Or there's waves of which we recognize.
Okay. So what you're saying is like you talked about the book and those two inflamed people, and then the way they bonded in one of the more intimate ways was sex, and sex was a means for them to come together, and that is maybe like the origin of it, whatever. And so it was initially meant for those two people. Yeah.
But that in the book, it was not restricted. She was dating another person.
Oh, okay.
There was like a lot happening. It wasn't like drama, but she was living a life. And but I think if I recognize that and I come and tell you, look, I've recognized what sex actually means, and it's sacred. And then you're like, right, it's sacred. Then we go tell another person, it's sacred. Sex is sacred, and they take your word for it. But it's so lost in translation. It's like, eventually you're like, wait, marriage has sex. Marriage is sacred. Wait. You're supposed to have it with one person. That person's sacred. You need to be faithful. Faithfulness, obviously, but you need to be faithful to one person your entire life, even if you don't know who that person is. All of that is put in such a high light because maybe the little idea that sex was supposed to be one thing that in life that you gain a lot of pleasure from. Really, that's kind of it. We never asked, why is sex sacred? We've heard it.
Yeah, but okay. I think I disagree up to a certain extent with things. I also feel like, you know, if you are in an open relationship with like multiple people and you're having sexual relationships with multiple people, I don't know how to say this, but it's not a healthy place for your mind to be in.
No, I fully accept that.
Because that connection between two people goes beyond the physical. Like there is another dimension to it. And sharing yourself intimately with so many people can be harmful to you.
I had this saying that really put a lot of things in perspective for me when I was indulging in that sort of act. But it was basically never have sex with someone you don't want to be. And that was very profound for me. Never let anyone inside you that you don't want to take a part of. And we do, like, so especially in this culture, we have a lot of, you don't know the other person. But again, that's who are we to tell you how to live your life? If you truly thought that that's where your happiness lies, and if you genuinely thought that, I don't think my experience should hinder anyone else's life just because that was my experience. But eventually it did come to a point to me where it led to, this is a very intimate thing that I'm not giving it it's right to be intimate. I'm not allowing it to be an intimate act where I'm denying it of that because I'm like, no, it's not, I can do it with anyone or whatever. But eventually when I came to that is when I realized I don't actually have a desire for it.
Not as much,
Because I put it in that light and it should be respected. And I do respect it now. That whole act, I do respect it now, and people do eventually come to that point sometimes.
Yeah, because I think I was at a point where I did not respect it like that. I looked at it like merely like a physical thing, like you can look at it like a physical thing. But then I also realized later on how potent it can be.
Yeah.
How you don't think it is, and you are engaging in this, and then suddenly it takes like a huge mental toll on you, and you're like where is this coming from? Like why does this matter so much? And I think that was one of the major points I stopped being so liberal on like a lot of things. Where I felt like, yeah, like eventually it's probably mistranslated, but all the value systems society has developed has been to protect something, has been to help like a healthy kind of lifestyle, even though we've obviously forgotten why and misinterpreted it now. But yeah.
Right, yeah. And I think honestly, it might have come from a real place, but it eventually got corrupt.
For sure.
And I
like
think we're
everything.
in the point of it getting the value system being so corrupt that it almost ruins more lives than helps.
For sure.
It's so obvious. Like, we all go through a period of hating how society is. I think a lot of people still do. But yeah, once you realize it was just a value system that someone created out of their best interest. They thought it would work, but they're still human, and that's how the world works. But it does take us far. Like how you said, the value system of like, I don't know if this was the clip, but honesty and
Oh yeah.
I think that's quite an important one as well.
Yeah. So that was like we were talking about developing different values, and developing certain values has a lot of energy which is not visible to the outside. Yeah. And one example would be like honesty.
Yeah.
Like that is like a real value to be developed, because only when you develop it outside you can develop it with yourself. And if you're not honest with yourself, you can be in denial of like a lot of stuff. You can be lying to yourself about a lot of stuff, and that's going to bring us like a lot of trouble. Like it's going to bring your own self like a lot of trouble.
So much more trouble.
Yeah.
And that's coming, like I'm someone who lies a lot. I'm someone who has a lot of white lies up my sleeve. But when you said, once the white lies also stop, there's so much more lying to yourself than you realize. So much more is when I took it a bit serious. I was like, oh, wow, like I don't even realize when I lie anymore.
Yeah, we unconsciously develop lying.
Yeah, we do it.
I think it's a coping mechanism.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because most of these situations we're in, if we had just been honest with ourselves, of is this what I truly want? This is what I really want. I think that's what it means to follow your highest bliss as well. I follow someone who really preaches on that, and I understand what he means by it, because when you say follow your highest bliss, and if it is,
and this is Bashar.
Bashar, yeah.
What's his first name? No, I mean the other name.
Right. It's Bashar through Darryl, Anka.
Okay.
You can put the name.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the Syrian dictator.
Yeah.
Right, but so he says follow your highest bliss a lot. And I think we've misinterpreted that as well, to follow your career path, follow your who you want to love, how many kids you want to have, that's your passion in life. But that's so like, you're boiling it down so much. Follow your highest bliss is almost like, in this moment, we're in a moment right now. What is, you look around and you're like, what is my highest bliss? Right now it's talking to you, because that's what's exciting me right now. That's what is driving me almost right now, because we're having a great conversation. And then I end up being in a bad place by talking to you somehow. It ends up being toxic. And I have to look inside and be honest with myself. Was I talking to you truly because I thought it made me happy? Or was I talking to you because I was addicted to something, or I didn't want you to leave, or something, right? Like it didn't come from a real place.
Yeah.
Was I honest with myself? And then if it did come from happiness, from chasing happiness, did I find it?
Yeah. Okay, so basically highest bliss is you kind of know what you want, so go behind it, follow it, and see if it really kind of gave you the happiness that you were looking for.
With anything, as long as you're not hurting another person, you have consent. Little things that we have been taught in this value system, because fundamentally they hold a lot of importance as well, as how we are as society is right now.
I think that's very close to what I practice. I think I told you that. Yeah. Because I don't think if you believe happiness lies somewhere, like it is somewhere,
Right.
and you don't follow that and you follow something else, you're lying to yourself there again. Like that's some unresolved shit. You need to go and like dig it up and see if you really will find that.
The only way you do that is by making that mistake and then asking yourself, why did I do this? And then when you start being true to yourself, you start recognizing, you stop doing it from a bad place. You stop doing it from denial. Then you start doing it from genuine happiness. And then you're like, I'm gonna look for this because I'm happy. That happened to me with jobs because career was a big thing for me. And then I, like how Jim Carrey says, I wish everyone was famous so they can recognize that that's not
what
it.
they're looking for. Yeah.
And I really thought my happiness lied there. I thought jobs for the longest time trumped people for me. Now I realize that that's not the case, but I really did think so. And I looked for it my entire life, and I actually stopped. This quarantine, I stopped and why had I given myself so much stress just because of this? Just because I needed to figure it out fast. And then I was like, and then when I stopped doing that, and I realized that came from a place of fear, I stopped it. And then I figured it out. I figured out exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist of any sort, really. I enjoyed being creative. And I was like, I found it. I'm happy. This is the thing I'm going to dedicate my life to. And I think I told you during this time as well.
This was the highest bliss
I had felt.
Yeah.
And now I'm at a point where I'm like, it didn't bring me any happiness.
Okay, yeah.
I like doing it. I still like writing. I still like writing songs. But I have no expectation out of it anymore because if it doesn't work, yes, I wasn't good enough. But not in a malicious way of like, I'm not good enough. No. It just wasn't my thing.
Or it was not that happiness which you believed to be there was not really there. Yeah.
Obviously that, but also like now I do that. I still follow that because that is who my personality is right now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just because I figured being an artist doesn't make me happy doesn't mean I'm gonna start doing a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
That it just fits my personality.
But you know not to expect that always,
right.
no?
I don't expect success from it, money from it, literally nothing. I'm just kind of in a state where I recognize where I am
and not even a higher sense of joy from it, no?
No, yeah. Literally nothing. That's why I recently wrote that song and I was like, I didn't expect anything from it. It came from a genuine place, but I got no happiness from it. I was excited, but I didn't expect any happiness from it. Never expect, and I think for the first time I fully lived in that moment as well, because I was like, I wasn't focused on, okay, what next? Should I get this recorded? Should I produce this? Should I release this? How many views do I want? Do I want to make money off this? All that, but no, it was just like, I wrote a song, I got a positive response, cool. But that was it. It's kind of nice.
I think I felt something similar when I did this play at the Friend, and it was the first public show I did, like the proper one. And I've been wanting to do it for years before that. I remember like failing so many times, but really wanting to do that. And I did it, and the process was amazing. Like the process was really fulfilling.
Right.
But after I did it, it felt really empty. Right. And I was kind of surprised because I didn't honestly know. I mean, I thought I'd be happy, and I don't know what I thought I'd be, but I didn't expect it to be that empty. And when it was that empty, that put a lot of things into perspective. Like, okay, this is something where I really believed my happiness was in. And I kind of knew it wasn't, but then now that I did it and it wasn't, like it got like weird, you know?
And I think we recognize the emptiness rather than the lack of happiness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like we recognize that and we're like, oh, it's empty, let me fill it up again. You almost forget that you started because you wanted to look for happiness. Like,
I think that's important because that's us being honest over there and looking at that process. Like we followed up this and we didn't get it. But now, like you said, it's not time to like go to your next list, but to properly look and...
It's okay to go to your next list if you really want to do that. But reflect, be honest. Why didn't you find it? Why were you looking for it? I think that's very important. Yeah, honesty is very important. And I think in general that applies to anything we talk about.
Even relationships, I guess, no? And even like dating different people. Yeah, I've always noticed, like, say, I've had one relationship and I and a person with the opposite of those characteristics. Because I thought, okay, this was something wrong with the person, so it could fit that other one. Now I did that one, and be like, then I searched for something else. I just been put in something which cannot like even fit, just so I can feel this high state which is not even possible. That makes sense.
It does, it does. Yeah, that's true for relationships, and I think that's also true for what's it called? Open relationships. Polygamy.
Yeah, polygamy being like having more than one partner.
I personally don't know, because I'm relating this to my experience, but I also personally, again, my opinion, I think it is looking for bliss, but trying to maybe a different approach, like maybe if I stretch myself thin enough, I'll find it.
Yeah.
But not necessarily a bad thing if that's where you think your bliss lies.
Yeah, you should try it out.
You should try it out.
Again, with people who consent and with people who are not going to be hurt in this process. Like we talked about before, where like one of my belief systems is like we are always looking for this high state of mind. Like we are always in pursuit of something which made us feel ourselves the most. And there's a particular person, like we have this set of check boxes, like lists, this concept, and we're trying to find that over and over again, and that's what we're looking for in like a person.
I think so too, yeah.
But then that is not exactly reality.
No.
In reality, it's very almost impossible to find a person, and even if you do find a person, that's going to change. It's going to vary.
I think maybe what happens with this whole twin flame concept is you actually recognize the person rather than recognizing checkboxes and realizing I feel empty again, I'm going to move on to the next person. You actually recognize the person. They fit all your checkboxes, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're still a person. They're still an individual who will disappoint you. And I think that's why it hurts so much. That's why it moves you in the direction of that's it. That's as high as it gets.
It's high as it gets, and it's still unsatisfactory.
It's still. This is it. This that emptiness you felt after your play. Like, oh, I looked for this maybe of a lifetime, but that's it.
Oh yeah, and that's like that's something very easy to run away from and be in denial of, no? Because when that happens, I think, but I also think at those kind of moments, it's also where you have the opportunity to be really honest if you want to.
It's very profound moments because that emptiness, it doesn't come from everything. It comes from something you deeply wanted.
Deeply believed.
Yeah, deeply believed in that betrayal of I was wrong and
now I can't deny it. This is exactly what it is.
And it's staring you in the face, and then it's not really. I also think people. I thought spirituality was this thing that you let go of everything. You let go of relationships. You let go of your career. You suddenly don't want anything. But it's not.
It's not.
It's not. Oh my God, it's not. I wish someone just shook me at the start and told me like, don't do this to yourself. But I obviously went in the right direction, I guess. But like, you didn't have to want to stop everything. You didn't have to be the serious person who was
you
judgmental
and you shouldn't be serious. I feel like because
it's so lighthearted. This whole journey is literally making a mistake and laughing at yourself and being like,
not taking yourself too seriously. Or the world too seriously.
The world too seriously. And I think this is why people probably don't talk about relationships. It is, like you said, the highest form of bliss. Therefore, probably the biggest detachment from the world you can eventually get.
I agree.
When you learn that relationships are a means to an end, you just that's the moment where you're really like, oh wow, I really fooled myself there. But that's very hard to get to. I haven't gotten to that fully. I really haven't. But I know that concept exists. And I know that gives me clarity. The fact that concept exists, and someday I hope I may understand it. And hope the person I love may understand it. That attachment still exists. So I don't want to let go of it.
And you shouldn't. And I don't think you can
No.
unless you understand.
Then that's not my highest bliss.
Yeah.
That's my spiritual ego again.
Yeah, and again, fooling yourself like, oh, I'm beyond this, so I'm going to like let this go. I think that's lying to yourself up to a certain
I
extent.
think so too. Yeah.
What?
But yeah, did we?
There's also we didn't talk about, but that's a whole other topic, the LGBTQ one.
I thought we did, no?
We didn't, no? Oh no, but we brought it up, but we didn't in this one. It was towards the end we addressed it.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sad. we recorded it, but oh, I'm so
Yeah,
sad.
my mom called it.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But shall we touch on that a bit?
Okay, yeah, sure, I don't mind.
Because we didn't need that much. I mean, we did go quite into depth, but I think it's important to mention it.
Okay.
So I think people would appreciate a bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
opinion on that,
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah.
Hopefully. But yeah, how do you feel about it? I feel quite strongly about it, and I know my stances on it are just literally I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, why should it matter to anyone? Why should it matter to anyone? Oh my god, it's so...
Yeah. In the sense, yeah, like, what I think is like, if those two people, despite their gender, despite what they're doing, if they're not harming each other in any sort of way, and they're actually benefiting, not harming, they're like benefiting, like it's like a relationship and they both are like helping each other, why would you get in the way to stop that? And the only reason I would see, one of the main reasons I would see is like, because those other people have a concept of what this world is supposed to be. It's supposed to be man and woman and man and woman only. Like I feel threatened because you do not fit my worldview. But then the wake up call is like, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like,
Other people don't have to like, suppress themselves just because one person feels that, you have to behave in this particular way. Of course, yeah.
but it does cause a lot of discomfort, doesn't it?
It does,
Like
yeah.
with the person, it's usually a child going through that because they're self-aware.
Yeah.
Like, what if I'm different?
Yeah.
But they have all these adults who are supposed to have it figured out, and they're telling them, no, if you have it, you're mentally sick. You're wrong. You need.
And then, yeah, as a child, I think the initial response is like, when you hear that, it'd be like, if you are in tune with this good boy, good girl thing, is to like really suppress that. And I think that's terrible. That's terrible for anything.
It's so terrible.
Yeah.
It turns into this toxic display of desire. This is I was saying this before, that a lot of men in Sri Lanka have a harder time accepting homosexuality than women do. I've noticed this.
Yeah.
Obviously, my stats could be different from another person's
Yeah.
experience, but and also on top of that, a lot of men have this idea that same sex between girls are okay, but like guys are a bit off. That also has to do with the sex industry and all that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cats look like a bit evil though.
They feel like sort of like other dimensional beings to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like they can sense other energies, and that's why they don't care too
Probably.
much about it.
Oh, that's a whole other topic. I'm not gonna get into.
Okay. Yeah. We'll get so invested in it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, yeah. Oh, also another thing I just want to bring up is like, in like a physical sense, in like a science sense, it's all about just passing your genes over.
Right.
But I think it's so much more than that. I think if it was just solely about that, it would be so much simpler.
It would.
It wouldn't be this complex.
I don't think we can use that because we are far beyond just animal instinct at this point anyway. And I think that's something we're taught at a young age when we learn about evolution, that I remember my teacher saying this, like when I was really young. She was like, it's not something you expect. Why? She said, this guy who had 10 kids, who's not that well off in life, but he's like kind of like all over the place, doesn't care to take care of his kids, versus two educated people who had 2 kids. Like, why? Who's better in evolutionary sense? And she kind of pointed out that we expect it to be the educated person with 2 kids. That's how our brains work now.
Yeah.
We are far beyond that, I think,
Yeah.
at civilization at this point.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I know it's not, like, it's not what you expect,
Mm.
but that's just how evolution works.
Mm.
That's just how, on a fundamental level, biology works.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I think biology itself, there's something deeper to biology. Like biology itself is the cause of something bigger.
I think so.
Yeah, and I don't mean God or anything like that, but I mean there are bigger things which are happening, which is an effect of the result is biology.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
result is something so vast that we've called it a subject.
Yeah.
Because it's so much fun to
Yeah.
study. I had a degree on it. Have a degree on it. But like you do medicine,
Yeah.
like it's so big
Yeah.
that we do.
And I'm grateful. I'm
Yeah.
sure you are too. Like we are
Yeah.
very grateful for science, but only
So, yeah.
up to a certain extent. In the sense,
Yeah.
it's able to help, but it's severely limited where it can help.
Yeah. That's true, that's true. But yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended on that
Yeah,
note.
yeah. And on a note that more than anything with relationships, I think you should be practical when approaching them. Know what exactly you are looking for, and try to see if you can actually find what you're looking for in that other person.
The other person.
And if you cannot, not to be distressed by it, because I think that is the nature of the world. That is what it is.
I think it's just being honest.
Yeah,
to yourself.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah, being humble about when you get hurt, honest. Yeah, I think that's it. Those are all just different words to describe this one thing that you mentioned.
I think we'll have like another conversation on it later on, because
Yeah.
it's deep to get into, and even though we got into like an hour or more probably, yeah, there's more to see.
I think so.
Yeah.
Relationships are a taboo thing, and not a taboo thing, but to talk about. It's not talked about. If there are any questions though,
Oh yeah, please
Yes.
do leave a comment.
that'll be interesting to see what you think on our perspectives. Because these are just our opinions as well. But it'd be interesting to see how it affects your experience of it as well. And if you disagree, that's completely fine. But do let us know. That'll be interesting to hear.
Yeah. And yeah, then see you in the next one.
Bye bye.
Okay.